Hi, thank you so much for clicking on this video and giving me a chance to tell my story. My name is Nya Medley, and this is my video essay response for the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Scholarship Fund. I know, I don't have a lot of time, but to truly understand why I'm looking to become a JD student in the class of 2028, we have to go back to the very beginning of where my story starts and why I want to tell the stories of all. Let's take it back. Not that far. Here. Yep. That's me. And that's my mom. I was born into a family that had excellence in their DNA, yet way too many secrets to actually do anything with said brilliance. See, I come from humble beginnings and the brutal understanding of how to truly stretch the American dollar. From husking corn on weekends for barbecues to running barefoot on sweet summer grass, I had two jobs as a child. One, to never let anyone know how poor we really were. And two, the most important, to have our business stay our business. I learned growing up that to share your weaknesses was to give your enemies ammunition. And in my family, that was one thing we did not do, which ultimately led me to grow up as a storyteller. It's hard to believe that this cute face was once a stone cold liar. However, it's an unfortunate truth. As I grew, teachers and other students wondered about the reserved nature I kept in class, why I could never have sleepovers, or the slight smell of animal feces stuck to my clothes. And when they asked, I would give an explanation so filled with joyous sparkle that in mere seconds, they would forget all about their inquiry. What teacher was I going to tell that I had been kicked out of my house for the third time in the past 2 years? Who was going to be there to listen and not judge when I explained that my mother had to choose between groceries for the week or my baby brother's formula? Which one of my peers would understand that I had been awoken, yet again, by two malnourished and abused pit bulls tearing each other limb from limb in my front yard? To answer the questions plainly, no one. However, despite the necessity of my omissions, I always felt kind of dirty after my lies. Therefore, when I gained the skills necessary, I wrote every fib I told on paper. Difficult events and heartbreaks became complex haikus scribbled in cat scratch against the pages of composition notebooks that were filled to the brim. Finally, I could unleash the pain of every moment of my life that I couldn't tell others. I understood that even if it was never spoken out loud, before I left this existence, my story would be a detailed map of every pivotal moment that created the colorful mirage of my very being. At this point, I bet you're thinking, thanks for the personal history lesson, Nya, but what exactly does that have to do with reducing barriers to economic mobility and fostering financial and social inclusion? See, you have to understand, my story was the first. At the time, I thought the only. However, I never would have imagined that this survival tactic would, what I believe, become the entire purpose I carry here on Earth. Since my very first secret sentence on a page, I've fallen in love with the idea of catching the adolescents who are just like me, known to slip beyond the cracks, their concerns or worries not exactly as urgent as others. As a psychology major, I dedicated my studies to understanding the brain and motives of these children, as well as getting into the field by mentoring at local middle schools, Salvation Armies, and even participating as a camp counselor at Grief Camp for children in Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, that's a pool noodle. After my degree, I worked as a program assistant focused on making extracurricular learning opportunities for kids in my hometown with the University of Maryland. I've recently used my talents to create a trilogy of young adult fiction novels, all focused on diverse and complex characters that teens today could relate and learn from. I took a gap year, which ultimately led to the creation of my own personal after-school program dedicated to helping kids in the judicial system and outside of it navigate the publishing process and craft their own stories, just like I did. My whole educational career, I have dedicated my time, energy, and intellect to helping kids not fall prey to the horror stories we hear today. However, despite it all, I've missed a pivotal group. Adolescents are involved in our legal system every day in our world. Their lives and decisions a mystery to most of the individuals who represent them. Our communities, obviously, are extremely affected by these decisions that they make day in and day out. So, what does this all mean in regards to me becoming an attorney? Well, in order to give an opportunity for all adolescents to tell their stories, it needs more people who understand their plight and narrative to represent them, as well as individuals focused on civil rights and education law to create policies specifically for them. If we are aiming to create social inclusion and reducing barriers to economic mobility, we have to give children, especially Black and Brown individuals, the opportunity to see themselves as members of a society that they can contribute to without judgment. My story was the first I ever told, but I know with funding from the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Scholarship Fund, it won't be the last. Thank you so much for this, and
allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is